Welcome back, Warriors, back with another episode of Bigger Warriors 2. Hope you all are well. I'm probably all sleeping at this point, except in different parts of the country. It's about almost 4 o'clock here in Central Standard Time. I'm in the Midwest. But as some of you guys have mentioned, I could not sleep. And so I figured I might as well get up and do some work, right? And avoid all those kind of temptations and things like that. So welcome back to our channel. I'm probably not as loud as I usually am, so I just realized it's 4 in the morning. I'm trying not to wake anybody else up that's sleeping right now. So again, thank you for subscriptions, and continue to subscribe and like and comment. I take a lot of comments and I use them to try to focus on things like, wealth and health and spiritual types of growth that we can do. And whether you're younger or older, I'm kind of focusing on all age groups now. I was focusing more on 50 and above, but it seems like that from the demographics I'm looking at and the audiences that are viewing these, that a lot of you are younger, and I have also some women as well. So I want to kind of bring a lot of things into it that can kind of help you from my perspective. All right, so today's topic is going to be food. And, I know it may be not exciting as retention and some other types of things, but it is a big part of the process. And I want you to make sure that you realize that eating food is also something that kind of help you a lot on this journey. So taking care of yourself, those type of things are really important when it focuses on kind of maximizing the best you can do. We talked about hair as an important type of thing. We're talking about exercise as an important type of thing. And certainly when it comes to your nutrition and energy, you want to maximize your energy as much as possible as on this journey. So like any kind of journey, you're going to have times where you're going to have something to eat and some things to avoid. So I'm going to focus on those type of foods that you want to avoid. And it's a great source. I viewed some videos by this person called Sterling Cooper. And I would recommend at least some of these videos that he's talking about food. And I'll put his name bottom in a link. I don't have a title on one of his, but you can kind of look at that and kind of see that he talks about a lot of different things. But I will focus just on the food part of it because I think it's important to kind of look at some of the things he's talking about. So we talk about this type of thing, staying away from these type of foods, and that's the title of this video. So as we look at this, it's important to know that your body is like a race car, and you want to make sure you give it the right kind of gas so it can win all these races that you take. Now, in our case, in the battlefield, the warrior has to be strong. So the warrior has to eat a lot of things that are positive. And so you want to eat things like you want to have protein, you want to have water, you have to have some carbs, vegetables, a lot of the different types of things you need to have to kind of build and continue to build muscle. I know as I get older, it's harder to build muscle. Some of you young guys and young women are really, you're in the prime of your life when it comes to that. And so continue to eat the good foods and avoid a lot of the stuff that we're talking about here. And I did a previous video on this, but there's a few things that he brought up in this one that I thought was really important. So I'm going to bring some of these as well. So you want to kind of avoid soy. That's the first one. I think, a lot of times that we have things, whether it's soy milk, those type of things kind of hurt your body more than helping your body. And so the 4 that he mentioned was soy, flax, and then beer, and then alcohol, and then obviously aspartame and fast food. So I'm going to go over some of these. Now, from a scientific standpoint, I don't have a lot of scientific information. He talked about some studies. I haven't had a chance to look at those studies to make sure that they're valid and some of the things around those, but I'm just kind of sharing some information that I received when I watched this video that I thought was important to share with you guys. So soy and flax, some of those type of things, we have in a lot of the foods that we have, and so you have to kind of watch those things because they tend to kind of drag you down more. They're not really focusing on building energy up. Beer, for instance, tastes good, and I know this is a tough one, guys, but you don't really want to focus on having a lot of beer because it has a lot of carbs, and a light beer is a little better, I suppose. But I think you have to kind of watch the amount of beer that you have because I think it can kind of hurt you, drag you down, and kind of make you feel sluggish. And I'm not saying once in a while not have a beer and those type of things, but over a period of time, it can kind of hurt you, and then certainly you can become addicted to some of that stuff as well, to the point where that you're always drinking and you can put a lot of weight on. I've seen a lot of guys that I played football with back when I was in college, and that was almost almost 40 years ago, right? And so a lot of those guys, they put a lot of weight on, and the trouble is as you get older, you don't realize this when you're in your 20s, and so you look like you're never going to end up putting weight on, things like that. But as you get older, you tend to your testosterone, could slow down, decrease, and your metabolism decreases. And so a lot of things we're talking about is these things create low testosterone. So soy and flax, aspartame, we'll talk about that in a second, but beer, fast food, all these type of things create lower testosterone, and you can tell that. Now there's some things you can do to kind of give that away, and I'll talk about that in a second. But I think what you really want to do is continue to focus on keeping higher testosterone. And some of you, and for you younger guys, you don't have to worry about that at this point. But as you get older, for some people like in my age, you do have to worry about that. You have to get to the point of saying, okay, I'm going to continue to keep that up. Now, what are some ways you can tell? Certainly that you have lower testosterone. Obviously, you're so low sex drive. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean you're relapsing and all these other kind of things, but that you still have those instincts within you. And that's when you have to transmute and be able to kind of move that energy to a more useful type of thing. Like, for example, me getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning and doing videos instead of, thinking and doing other things, right? So you want to focus on being productive and doing something that keeps your focus away from all that temptation. And then certainly if you're not competitive, that's another thing that you lose that drive to be competitive. That's another thing you can kind of look at as a possibility. And then a person that's whiny, the beta male type of thing, that may be an indication you've lost testosterone. And then low confidence. And so once again, when you're on this journey, you have a great deal of confidence and you feel like you're the king, and you have to kind of act that way in your attitude. And as you look at things, you become a person who's now in control of their life and things that they want to have and succeed. And so when you look at some of these foods like soy and flax and beer, for instance, and hoppy beer, those type of things can create lower testosterone as time goes on. And so you want to avoid those type of things. And once again, having a beer with your friends is not gonna kill you. But remember, you're like a fine car, a race car, and you're trying to continue to build up, your speed and be the fastest car you can be on the racetrack. Whether you're doing the Grand Prix races or Indianapolis 500, you're trying to be the best you can be. Just like in the warrior sense, you're trying to be the best you can be. And I found a good quote, from the Mayanata Mashui, I think his name is, Japanese swordsman, 1584 to 1645. And the quote is, to hold it together when everybody else would understand if you let it go. It fell apart, and that's true strength. So to hold it together when everybody else knows that you could probably just let it go and that would be understandable, and that's true strength. And so here again, in the case of nutrition and food, you want to make sure that even though everybody else is doing something, you're not doing that thing. You're following your own pattern. You're doing your own thing. And so that's why I combine a lot of fasting together with this. Now the other one that I run into, and I've been a victim of this one myself, and I've been now keeping off of this for a while, is aspartame. Now sucrose may be the same thing. I have to look more into that one, but aspartame is something to stay away from. That also has been shown in studies to create low testosterone. That's what all these type of things do, whether it's soy, flax, beer, and those type of things. So be careful of some of these things. And aspartame is one of those things that can affect you as time goes on. Now, what other types of things I think that it creates problems? I've gone to, as I think I did a video on this, and I've gone to cold showers. I've also gone to having more, not having fluoride toothpaste. And I've also kind of gone to not drinking things out of a bottle. So I've tried to avoid a lot of those type of things. And it's made a big difference. It's made a big difference. And I think partly you can see that with growth on your hair growth, all these type of things, your drive, your competitive nature, all these things are things that I still have with me at this point, and I'm 60. So there's no reason why you can't continue these things long into your 60s and 70s and 80s. And for your younger people, you have so much energy, so much power and strength that you have to just make sure you kind of filter it into the right way and use it for positive types of things. And so you want to stay away from those type of foods that can kind of drag you down. And you know that, right? Eating some donuts and some coffee is going to kill you. It's almost like wrestling a sumo wrestler in the morning. Those type of things put you down, and you can tell that. Because if you have some bad food, you don't have as much energy. Now you feel like taking a nap, right, or sleeping, because all of a sudden all that sugar, which is another bad thing, obviously, real sugar or fake sugar, those type of things bring you down. They create, in your mind such a situation where your body has to filter those things through. And that's why I say that you have to be careful with all these type of things that you're having. And so some of the processed food, preservatives, all those things you have to kind of avoid. Obviously, fast food, is just a no. Now, I'm a little more careful with this now as I'm getting older, but I think it's good to start that habit younger, to be careful. And I'm not saying not have these things. I mean, certainly going out and having a hamburger is not going to kill you. But one of the things we'll talk about in the Fountain of Youth book, especially, is that in the Eastern world, a lot of the, especially in the Tibet, in the monasteries, they did not have the combination of bread and meat. They may have a separate platter of meat and then a separate thing of bread, but they ate those differently, because within the gastro systems of the stomach, what they had said, that mixing those two things together is not a good idea. And so those type of things were something they forbid people to do, because that could hurt you a lot. So having a hamburger, having those type of things, the bread and the protein, those type of things, a mixture of those things were not so good. So I hope this helps a little bit. Once again, just realize in your mind you're putting an image together that you are a race car, and you're a fine warrior that's going to continue to go to battle, and you're going to go back, and to continue to win these battles, you've got to focus on those type of things that give you that strength. And obviously your journey is the most important, but other things that can add to this are these types of foods and things that you want to avoid. And on the opposite side of it, those things that you want to have, like protein, that's going to kind of have positive types of effects on you. Okay. All right, so until next time, warriors, battle on.